Welcome back for part 2 of the highly detailed speed engineering header and X-pipe installation on the C6 Corvette. In part 1, we took an extremely close look at all of the different components and parts included in the kit. And needless to say, I was extremely impressed. Then I stopped for just a second and took a good careful look from the top, looking down at the driver's side engine bay with the header bolted to the engine block. And I was looking for any sort of fitment issues or concerns with wiring or hoses being too close to the header. And fortunately, nothing serious jumped out. Now let's jump right back into it. And I'm going to start from underneath the C6 on the driver's side, looking up at that same header area, making sure I didn't miss anything from up top that's concerning with regards to fitness or clearance issues with hoses or wiring. Looking up between the header and the frame rail of the chassis, the wiring down low appears to be far enough away and sufficiently protected. But I'm a little concerned about the rubber clutch line, as its existing protection looks to be 20 years old and pretty much worn out. Its reflective coating is flaking off and I simply don't trust it, so I went ahead and removed it. Then, using some wire loom to provide an air gap, I wrapped it with some leftover heat shield material I have in stock, and I secured it using zip ties. I'm using the zip ties as kind of a canary in the coal mine, so to speak, and I will take a look at them after some testing to see if they show any signs of heat damage. If after a few miles they start to look a little damaged from the header's radiant heat, then I may end up adding an extra layer or two of heat shielding to protect the clutch line, just to be safe. Looking at the area between the header and the engine, here is the wiring and existing heat shielding going to the knock sensor. I'll add more heat shielding where you can see it's missing, and here is the stock, more elaborate shielding for the knock sensor, which I will absolutely retain. A little higher up is a larger wiring harness, and it is a little bit closer to the header. So I'm going to go ahead and move it closer to the engine block by flipping this offset clamp 180 degrees, as well as adding an extra layer of heat shielding. And here is the finished product. Again, I left it with plastic zip ties in place, and I will be looking for signs of heat damage to the zip ties to determine if it's far enough away from the header or not. Moving to the passenger side, the stock catalytic converter is still in place, and from the factory, these shielded wires are only 2 inches away from it, and the starter motor itself is even closer, with some parts of the starter coming in at only 1 inch. That's interesting because the shielded wiring has lasted that way for almost 20 years. Now it's time for this catalytic converter to leave, and after spraying the bolts with lube and breaking them loose by hand, the nuts come off without much of a fuss, and once the converter is moved down a bit, access to the oxygen sensor plug becomes much easier. If the starter was giving me any signs of going out, now would definitely be the ideal time to change it, but it seems strong to me, and obviously this one is not original. Oh, and here's a better look at the wiring on this side. Kinda surprised how good a shape it's in after being next to that converter for so many years. Back up top, it's time to remove the spark plug wires, and my camera mount is obviously loose and sliding down, followed by the spark plugs, again so they don't get in the way and or broken. The exhaust manifold bolts are next, and my string of good luck is about to end. Are you kidding me? That didn't even take hardly any energy to break that thing. It was just hanging on by a thread. Fortunately, the rest of the exhaust manifold bolts on this side broke loose with a ratchet, so now I will buzz them off, stopping briefly in the middle to get the dipstick tube out of the way so I can get the exhaust manifold bolts behind it as well. By the way, before pulling the dipstick out, clean where it enters the block, as you really don't want any sludge that might have built up dropping inside. Now I can remove the last exhaust manifold bolt and drop the manifold out the bottom. And now it's time to extract the remnant of a broken bolt from the head. And I'd really hate to try to drill this out, or worse yet, have to remove the head. So I've got the welder with a fire extinguisher on standby, and in my opinion, this is the right tool for this job. Even if you don't normally pray out in the shop, now's a good time to say a little prayer. First, I clean the face of the broken bolt so it welds easier. Then I hit it with the MIG and build a nubbin up, effectively extending the length of the bolt so that I'll have something to grab onto. At the same time, I am superheating the broken bolt that's inside the head so that it pushes against the head and helps break it loose so I can unscrew it. And I don't use a vice grip on my C6 very often, but when I do, it really comes in handy. Now it's just a matter of continuing to reposition the vice grip since I don't have much room, and keep turning it until the broken bolt is fully backed out. Thankfully, this one worked out well, as it usually does. Moving back underneath, I'm going to be tidying up this a little bit. I did some extensive testing to see how durable the heat shielding is and how much heat it can take, and let's just say it works pretty good. This sample was about 1.5 inches from the red hot steel for 10 minutes, and other than the zip ties giving up, it did just fine. To be safe, I will be keeping a very close eye on the modified shielding to make sure nothing starts to melt. Now I install the passenger side from underneath, and it goes in without much of a fuss. Then, using a little anti-seize on the bolts, I get them started by hand and then I torque them down to spec. Now it's time to harvest the old oxygen sensor from the old exhaust manifold, and it helps a bunch if you have an oxygen sensor socket. I installed the O2 sensor and routed the wiring up and out of the way towards the back of the engine and to the connector that's on the main harness. Clearly I will have to do some additional wire management as part of a future project. I intentionally left this zip tie here as I'm really curious to see how far back it will melt. I installed both of the oxygen sensors, and don't forget to torque the driver's side exhaust manifold bolts down as well with an actual torque wrench. Do not guess. Moving underneath, are the Speed Engineering tubing clamps really as bad as most guys make them out to be? I don't think so. So I think here's the problem with the Speed Engineering clamps that everybody hates. I think the real problem is the fit. Even if it's fully seated like this one is, look at how much room there is. It's too much room to ask a clamp to close with only, this little slot. That's not a whole lot of room for that clamp to crush 304 stainless steel. Here, take a look at this. I'm going to go ahead and torque this to 5 pound-feet of torque. It's not a whole lot, but you would think that that should crush this at least a little bit. Actually, that didn't seem like much at all, so I bumped this up to 10 pound-feet of torque. And I don't think that's enough either. Let's go test it out. With this thing torqued to 10 pound-feet of torque, I don't think that closed up at all. That's for 304 stainless steel. That's a lot to ask that clamp to do. Let's see if it's moved at all. Look at that. Still slides on, super easy. And look at all the movement we still have. And I think they did this so that for the tolerances, either between their manufacturing tolerances and every C6 maybe being a tiny bit different, this way you've got adjustment. But that seems awfully loose, so I'm going to make a modification. What I've done is I've just made a little bit more of a slot past each cutaway so it has room to shrink down without torquing the crap out of and breaking these clamps. Now for a second time I'm going to torque these once again to 10 pound-feet of torque, and I can feel it's going in more. Now let's go underneath the car, and I bet you that's a lot tighter. And look at that. Doesn't even fit on. So that's going to be, oh, I got it on. Very snug. I can barely slide it on. So that little modification is going to save from wrecking all these clamps and give you a much better fit. Now I just got to do the same thing for all of the other joints. And for anybody who's ever had these Speed Engineering headers before, you know how tight you have to get these. Check this out. So right now I've got it just hand tight. I'm just using a little, this is only like 8 inches. That's it. I can barely move it, and look at how much that's hardly anything. You don't have to wreck your damn clamps. You just have to modify the pipe. Moving on to the driver's side here. So I've got the black line, which is 100% full engagement, and the red dot, because you can't always tell how deep you are. If these need to slide forward or back a little bit, this is like the line of death. I don't want to be any further this way, because obviously if it ended up being right here, that's just not enough. So that's kind of like the maximum I would allow myself to go backwards. And this tells me that I've got it all the way forwards. This takes 2 seconds to do and will greatly help you installing Speed Engineering headers. I really am giving most all of the joints additional cuts to enable the clamps to work properly. Make sure you have a high quality blade, as 304 stainless is pretty tough. A little tighter. A little bit more muscle. There we go. Look at that. Doesn't take much. Those little slits just really help out. Now, oddly, this is the little piece on the driver's side. It's got this oxygen sensor bung in. It's not at the correct angle, by the way. It should be up here. But oddly, this one here fits perfectly snug. If they all fit like this, that would be great. But again, I suspect Speed Engineering made these loose to allow you to wiggle them so that they will actually fit in a greater number of situations. So I'm just going to tentatively put this right here, and I've got my red line and my black line. I've got the X pipe sitting in here, and I just want to show you these joints, at least on my kit. Look at how loose that is. So this is going to be getting the cuts, and the X pipe here that goes to the passenger side, you can see how loose that is as well. So this is going to be getting the cuts here on the X pipe as well. Okay, here's what we got going on. Take your time while you're doing this. Don't be in a rush, because you don't want to screw this up. It's not that hard. You just have to be methodical. I've got this underneath here, holding it at the approximate height that I want. And you can see I've got the black line there, a little bit behind the black line there. I went over the red, so don't worry about that. Over on this side, got my black line there, black line there. Everything's looking good. Got the clamps in place. You don't want to forget to put a clamp on it. I still think this is an error on the part of Speed Engineering. This is not ideal for the wideband to be mounted in this pipe. Condensation and moisture can destroy the sensor. So I'll show you where I'm going to mount it. This is looking towards the bell housing. I'm going to mount it right about there. That way I can continue to run my wire up the side of the car whenever I'm tuning, and then remove the wideband when I'm done tuning. That's my preferred method. First, I trace the sensor onto the pipe, then using a cutoff wheel, I cut a small square, and then I use a needle nose to remove the square. Now I clean up the hole with a die grinder a little bit to make it a little more round. Then I test fit the new bung, and finally burn it into place. And that's what a TIG welder looks like, and I'm not going to show you mine up close because it's not nearly as nice, but it is airtight. And here's what the wideband looks like with the correct orientation. Again, I've got the height that I want set by this, and I've got it spaced. It has a tendency to kind of want to go that way, so I made this shim a little bit thicker because it's probably going to spring back a little bit. Now I'm going to work on the back part here to connect it to my Corsa Sport axle back exhaust. You're going to have some extra hardware. They do give you 3 extra pipes that connect your mid pipe to the axle back exhaust. Basically, these here on this end are larger diameter for the LS7, which is a full 3-inch exhaust. And this one, I believe, is for the LS3, which had a slight difference. Or perhaps it's for the Auto. I'm not 100% sure, but I am sure that I matched up the correct pipes for my LS2 powered C6. I do have a problem here with the passenger side pipe connecting the mid pipe to the axle back exhaust. As you can see, I am nowhere near, the red line is kind of the furthest out that I'd really want to be. And if I didn't mark this, you really wouldn't be able to tell. So I think, since this one has plenty of room, I'm going to slide this back a little bit so I can split the difference, having an equal amount of pipe inside each joint. Here is the driver's side, and it's just at the wrong angle. I have tried loosening up the connection into the muffler and rotating it, and it just, this is a Corsa by the way, so it might be different than a stock setup, but this just isn't going to fit. It's at the wrong angle, so I'm going to cut this off and re-weld it so that this is aimed straight in line with this, because that just is not going to work. I got a couple good tack welds in here, and I just want to make sure it's 100% right before I splice in a piece of stainless steel. Okay, this pipe fits in perfectly. And again, here's the gap that we had to create. So I'm going to go ahead and solid weld that up now. Now I'm installing the spark plug wires, and most fit pretty well, but there will be a couple that will touch the header tubes, so I'll grab a couple of different wire types from stock for the offending cylinders. Later on I can make it pretty and make sure all of the wires are the same color. Now I reinstalled the oil dipstick down into the engine and pushed it into place. Unfortunately, it no longer fits, and it looks like it's going to need some custom trimming. I just had to take off about 1/8 of an inch where it abuts the header flange. All right, everything is finally nice and snug. I don't know if it's tight enough or not. I'm going to crawl back under here with it running and see what's leaking and how much it's leaking. Everything is hooked up all the way to the back. Boy, those need to be cleaned, by the way. It's about time to start it, but I'm just going to take one more look. I will be putting some heat material on this just because it's an AC line, but it'll be fine for right now. This side looks good. Let's go over to the other side. That one's a little close. I'm going to do that quick and then we're good to go.